In the parched, desolate landscape of famine-stricken Sudan, life struggled to cling on. The air carried the acrid stench of death, and silence hung heavy, punctuated only by the occasional wail of the dying. Among the many who came to bear witness to this humanitarian catastrophe was Kevin Carter, a South African photojournalist known for his work documenting the atrocities of apartheid. But Sudan was unlike anything he had ever seen before. Carter had arrived with the intention of bringing global attention to the famine ravaging the region. The rules for journalists in such contexts were unspoken but clear: observe, document, but do not interfere. Their role was to show the world the truth, to provoke action, not to act themselves. But on that fateful day, Carter faced a moral dilemma that would haunt him for the rest of his life. As he walked through the village of Ayad, Carter stumbled upon a heart-wrenching scene. A frail, emaciated child collapsed on the ground, her tiny body too weak to move. A vulture, waiting ominously nearby, cast a shadow of death over the scene. Carter paused, his heart racing. The image was harrowing, yet it was the kind of moment that could shake the conscience of the world. He adjusted his lens, framing the girl and the vulture in a single, devastating shot. He waited for 20 minutes, hoping the vulture would spread its wings to create an even more striking composition. It didn't. He captured the photograph nonetheless, a single frame that would come to define not only the famine but also his own legacy. Afterward, Carter reportedly chased the vulture away and sat under a tree, lighting a cigarette and weeping. He later explained that he had promised himself he would find help for the girl, but there was no clear record of what happened to her after he left. When The Vulture and the Little Girl was published in the New York Times, it caused an immediate uproar. The haunting image became a global symbol of famine and human suffering, igniting widespread outrage and spurring calls for international aid. The photograph won Carter the Pulitzer Prize in 1994, solidifying his reputation as one of the most powerful visual storytellers of his generation. But the acclaim came with intense scrutiny. Critics and readers alike asked a painful question: why didn't he help the child? Carter's adherence to the code of photojournalism, document, but do not intervene, was misunderstood by many. The public demanded answers, and the pressure weighed heavily on him. Carter was no stranger to trauma. As a member of the Bang Bang Club, a group of South African photographers documenting the violence of apartheid, he had already witnessed unspeakable horrors. But Sudan, and this photograph in particular, pushed him to his emotional limits. The suffering he saw, coupled with the backlash he faced, left him riddled with guilt and depression. On July 27, 1994, just months after receiving the Pulitzer Prize, Kevin Carter died by suicide. In his note, he wrote about being haunted by vivid memories of violence, corpses, and the cries of children. His death underscored the emotional toll that comes with bearing witness to the world's most profound suffering. Kevin Carter's photograph remains one of the most iconic and controversial images in photojournalism. It serves as a stark reminder of the power of photography to provoke action and awareness. But it also raises enduring ethical questions. What is the role of a photojournalist in a crisis? Where does documentation end and humanity begin? While Carter's work brought attention to the famine and inspired global aid, it also highlights the immense burden carried by those who document human suffering. His life and death remind us that the act of bearing witness is both a privilege and a profound responsibility. Kevin Carter's story is one of profound complexity, a tale of compassion, guilt, and the immense weight of witnessing humanity at its most fragile. His photograph, The Vulture and the Little Girl, captured not just a moment of suffering but the deep moral questions that haunt those who stand on the front lines of despair. Through his lens, the world saw the devastating cost of famine, the urgent need for action, and the painful realities of a journalist's role. But for Carter, The line between observer and participant blurred under the weight of his conscience. The image that brought awareness to millions left him grappling with a question he could never answer. Had he done enough? Kevin Carter's legacy is etched in that haunting frame, a reminder that the power to document comes with a cost, and that even the strongest voices can falter under the burden of their own empathy. His story compels us not just to see suffering but to confront it, to act where others can only watch, and to remember that the greatest humanity lies not in bearing witness but in answering the call to alleviate it. May his work inspire us to never look away, and may his memory remind us of the courage it takes to stand in the shadow of suffering and bring its light to the world.